As you exhale, keep your right knee and put your left foot down on the floor. And then as you inhale, push that right leg to straight. As you exhale, hug your right knee in again. As you inhale, push your right leg to straight. Exhale, hug in. Inhale, push your right leg to straight. If you've got that strap, take one hand on each side and wrap the strap around your hands. If it feels reasonable to reach your thigh, press your thigh and your hands together. And let's roll the ankle. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Other way. 5, 4, 3, 2. It is nice and slow, as you can tell by my counting. And then flex your foot, plug your thigh bone into your hip socket, like you're actively pulling your leg down with your hands, yeah? And then let's see what happens if we straighten our bottom leg. Does that feel reasonable on the top of the thigh? Or is your thigh bone kind of poking up away from the floor? You want it to sit back. Even if you just put a tiny bend in your knee, your thigh bone sits back toward the floor. What I'm talking about is the head of your femur sitting back in the hip socket, okay? Now we're going to take this right leg, bend it, and see what we can reach. Ankle, foot, big toe, and take our right leg into happy baby pose, okay? And you can be kind of playful with it, like a baby would be. You can move your leg around and just kind of figure out, all right, where do I get to the point where I don't feel stuck in this pose, but I feel like it's just a nice opening on my hip. My thigh is strong, my arm and leg are squeezing into each other, and I'm just here. Again, consider what's up with this bottom leg. If it's a really extreme stretch, then just put a little bend. You'll probably still get the stretch. Keep that left hip down. Let's stay here for 2. 1. Bend that bottom leg, cross the ankle on top of the thigh, and then drop your legs over to the left, coming into a twist here. Right arm stretches out to the side, and let's all look right toward our hand. And our arm is strong and pressing down into the floor, even though it just feels like, I'm just laying here. No, you're deliberately placing your body on the floor. So push down through your right foot. Your right knee points up to the best of your ability. And your right hip is almost trying to sit back down on the floor. That's that action of pulling your thigh bone into the hip socket. Okay, 2 more breaths here. Maybe you come back to that nice movement in your belly as you breathe. And then on your inhale, let's come on out of it. Push our legs back up to center, uncross our legs, and just plant our feet on the floor. Now you can stay here, or you can hug your legs again and roll on your lower back to your heart's content. Next phase, left leg. Hug our left leg in, stretch our right leg out. You know what? I'm sorry, we don't do that. Bend our right leg, lift our left leg, and then hug our left leg. And then straighten our left leg, and then hug our left leg. And then this is the one, straighten your left leg. If your hands are holding your thigh, push your thigh and your hands together, and let's roll that ankle nice and slowly. Slowly, so that you can get the full range of motion and you can feel your foot turning in a circle. If it were to be quick, let's switch directions after 5. If it were to be quick, you may as well just shake out your ankle, yeah? But we're not doing that. We're deliberately stretching all sides of the ankle. You've got about 5 of them. Once you've got around 5 of them, come back to center and let's push that leg up nice and tall. Try straightening your bottom leg on this side and see what happens. Does that serve you? Does that not? Does this bottom leg need a little bend or a big bend? I need a little bend on that side. It feels very stuck when I have my leg all the way straight. So I put a little bend and it eases up the hip flexor, hip crease area. Let's take that left leg into happy baby. And again, you could just swing your leg around, just kind of move it until you find that perfect spot. And once you find it, we're holding there. Our foot is pressing either into your actual hand or just kind of toward the ceiling. So there's a little bit of attempt to engage your hamstrings. Your leg and your arm are trying to touch each other. If they don't touch, they're reaching for each other. And let's hold for one more big breath here. And then bend that bottom leg, cross the ankle over, and your legs just keep tipping over, all the way over to the right side. Drop down, your left foot push down, and then your knee points up-ish, maybe. And then you plug that thigh bone into the hip socket, stretch out deliberately through your left arm, lengthen your torso, lengthen your neck, and try looking to the left. Move your breath down into your belly. I find that helpful for easing up on these hip stretches. I find that then we don't feel as stuck if we're kind of trying to send the breath down there. Maybe that's the case for you and this is helpful, or maybe it's not relevant to you, and in which case just breathe deeply. Okay, inhale, come back up, uncross your legs. Just hold here for one moment, letting your spine neutralize. And then you're free to hug your knees into your chest and roll up, or to roll onto one side and then lift yourself all the way up. We're gonna come to hands and knees. If your knees are sensitive, let's throw something underneath them for some extra padding. And maybe that's simply folding your mat, okay? I have a blanket nearby, so I'm gonna use a blanket. I'm going to place that under my knees and come to tabletop position. So shins in line with one another, forearms in line with one another, hands about as wide as your outer shoulders, and knees as wide as your hips. And then let's just round our shoulders, round your shoulders a lot, shoulder blade push up, and then squeeze your shoulder blades together. Do it one more time, round your shoulder blades. Squeeze your shoulder blades. Come back to a center point where you feel strong, but your chest is open. Let's just tip the pelvis. Tip your tailbone toward the ceiling. You're pouring out the pelvic bowl. And then tuck your tailbone under. And then tip the pelvis forward. And then tuck your tailbone under. Okay? And then come into a neutral pelvis where your sacrum just feels kind of level. Level is the word I'm looking for. Okay, now let's stretch our right leg out, hover our right leg off the floor, re-level our hips, and then see if we can bend that right leg and even push it up a little higher as we pull our navel back a little bit. Maybe push up just a little higher, engaging those hamstrings for 5, 4. If you need movement, if it's feeling crampy or stuck, move. Just kick your foot. Let's lower the leg down and switch over to the other side, stretching our left leg back, level our hips, lift that leg up. Maybe you stay here. Maybe you bend the knee, navel back, and we're trying to push that foot up as high as possible. I find this very difficult to do. Without collapsing our lower abdomen, we're doing our best. 5, 4. See if it's helpful to squeeze your hands towards your legs. And then let's lower that leg down. Take an inhale, arch our back, stretch out the front, cow pose. Take an exhale, round our back, stretch out the back, cat pose. Inhale. Exhale, just waving through our movements. Inhale, neutral spine in this right leg. We're going to tuck the toes and we're going to kick our right leg out to the right. our shin is level, right? Foot and knee, same height. Exhale, bring it in. What happens if you try sliding your hands apart for this one? Inhale, kick the leg out. Exhale, bring it in. We're holding this one. Inhale, hold out. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower your leg back down. We just have one more lovely side to go. Inhale, kick your left leg out. Your heel and your knee are the same height. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, kick out. Nothing else is moving, but you are feeling this strong engagement. And then inhale, kick out and hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower down, and you can keep your knees together if that feels good and take a child's pose, or take your knees apart and take a child's pose. Your call on that one. Inhale and expand through the sides of the body, and exhale, settle in. Inhale, expand. Exhale, settle in. Then one more deep breath. Inhale, pull up onto hands and knees. Exhale, push back into downward facing dog and hold here for about 5 deep breaths or 30 seconds. And as you stay in this pose, keep working your biceps a little bit toward the ceiling. Your upper back is broad, but your chest is also broad. So your shoulders are on that middle point. They're not rounded or squeezing. Same with your pelvis. It's not tipping forward or tucking under. It's trying to be neutral. So just send your sit bones straight back. Push your heels down. Maybe you have to do one at a time and pedal out your feet to accommodate tight hamstrings. This is presumably your first down dog today. Okay. So here we are, downward facing dog, feet wide. Let's start walking our hands back toward our feet. Turn our toes out. Keep walking our hands back toward our feet and put our elbows on our thighs. So we're just half squatting. You could stay here, or you can take your thumbs, maybe even your whole hands into a little C shape. But we want our thumbs to go on the inner thigh, right at the hip crease, and scrub the flesh, the muscle, the tension, the fascia out of the way. So you're scrubbing outward towards your outer hips. And then as you do that, you might try sitting a little deeper and see how that goes for you. Maybe it doesn't pinch quite as much. And then we're here in this squat just for a few more breaths. If this is very intense for you, you come up however high it is not intense for you. If your heels are popping up, I would roll up the mat or roll up a blanket underneath your heels. You can sit on something as well. You could do this in a chair. Or just take your legs wide and sit back into the chair. It feels really good, actually. Take one more breath. Okay. Now we're going to stretch our arms forward and see if we can slide our hips back and up and come all the way up to standing. Once we get there, parallel our feet. Stretch our arms up in the air and then bring the hands all the way down to the center of the heart. Interlace the fingers, turn the palms forward. Press. Shoulder blades coming off the back in this scenario. Reach. And with your hands clasped like this, tip a little to the right. Inhale, come back up. And exhale, tip a little to the left. Inhale, come back up, lengthening through both sides of your body. And exhale, dive yourself all the way back down. Release your head toward the floor. And then inhale, lift up halfway, lengthen. Exhale, walk yourself into plank, all the way forward into plank. And then inhale here. As you exhale, neutral shoulders, neutral hips, maybe knees on the floor. We're going to shift forward and down, forward and down. Okay, your belly's on the floor, your toenails are pushing into the floor. And then inhale, lift up a little back bend, and exhale, roll back down. And then do it again. Inhale, lift up a little back bend, and exhale, roll back down. Inhale, lift up, and exhale, roll back down. And now this time we're going to inhale and push straight up to hands and knees. Exhale, push back into downward facing dog. And just take a moment here. Now this piece you can do from down dog or from hands and knees. What we're going to do is kind of what we did earlier, really. Inhale, reach our right leg back, bend our knee, kick our foot up toward the ceiling, and then open our knee to the right. Okay? So you can do that without turning your hips and your shoulders, hopefully. We're trying to do that without turning our hips and our shoulders. Okay? And then roll out your ankle once in one direction, once in the other direction, and stretch that leg out long. Inhale, and exhale, pull that leg all the way up into your chest. Take your knee wide and step your foot outside of your right hand. That was a big movement. Take your back knee down to the floor, hands right underneath the shoulders. Scoot your left hand a little wider so that you can widen through both sides of your chest, right hand on the thigh, and then start to turn to your right. Inhale here. Exhale, turn to your right. Inhale here. Hips are not turning. Chest is turning though. And then maybe that top arm lifts up if you feel like you've got room to do it. Maybe that top arm reaches overhead and we slide our right hip back a little bit, like we're taking our hand in our hip crease and pushing back, okay? We're here for a moment. You could lift your back knee if you wanted to. And then we're inhale, coming out of this pose. Now bear with me on this one, this is not comfortable. Exhale, squeeze your left heel to your sit bone. And then release, and then squeeze again. And then release, and then squeeze one more time and hold for 5. Push your heel to your sit bone as much as you possibly can. 4, 3, 2, 1. Stretch that leg back. Step your right leg back. Inhale, plank pose. You can stay in plank. You can come onto your knees. Exhale, chaturanga. You can also go back to down dog. Inhale, little back bend. You can do this on your forearms too. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift your left leg up. You can do this on hands and knees. Bend your knee, push up. Rotate the thighs so your knee points to the left. Roll out your ankle one direction, roll out your ankle the other direction, and then we're going to stretch that leg out and pull the knee into the nose, widen the knee to the left, and step forward. Lower our back knee down. Inhale, right hand a little wide. Exhale, twist to the left. Holding for a moment. Maybe that top arm lifts up. Maybe that top arm reaches as that left hip pulls back a little bit. I'm exaggerating. You're just doing it a little bit. Inhale, come out of the twist. Plant down firmly through your hands, and as you exhale, squeeze your right heel in. And then release. And then squeeze in, and then release, and then squeeze in and hold for 5, squeeze more, 4, squeeze more, 3, sit bone and heel towards your butt, 2, 1, release, step back, inhale here, maybe it's a plank, maybe it's a hands and knees, exhale, move it through, down to the floor. Inhale, curl up a little bit, hover your hands off the floor, and then stretch your arms straight down by your sides. Pull your navel back. Push your legs up for a moment, using that hamstring strength that you've been developing. One more breath, and then exhale and release it down. We're going to push straight up to hands and knees, or if you want to push into plank, be my guest. Inhale, push up. Exhale, downward dog. Take our feet wide. Inhale. Exhale, walk our hands all the way back to our feet. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, fold ourselves in over our legs. Inhale, sweep our arms up to the sky, get nice and tall, and exhale, hands together at the center of the heart. Please take your stance and turn it sideways. It's a strange way of saying that. Take a wide stance pointing to the side edge of your mat. Push down through all four corners of your feet so that all four sides of your thighs are powering up as you stand here. You might even put a little bend in the knees so you have more power. And then stretch your arms way out to the sides. Inhale. Exhale, drop your arms down and back a little bit, okay? Bottom edges of the shoulder blades rolling down the back. Engage those lower edges of your trapezius muscles. Interlace your fingers if it's available. Those of you with some sort of strap or variation thereof could hold on to something. That's a super nice variation. I prefer that personally. Press the arms back behind you. Engage your back of your arms. Your traps are engaging. Your upper back is engaging. And inhale. Exhale. Halfway down. Inhale. Nice and long. Hips back, chest forward. Exhale. Fold in. Release your neck. Release your head. Reach your arms up and over. Maybe you bend over to one side, other leg straightens. Bend over to the other side, nice and slow. Come back to center, and here you are. Inhale and exhale. And then we're inhaling and sending our chest so far forward, pressing our hips back, sending our chest forward. It's just a constant effort of doing that until you come all the way up to standing and just relax your arms out to down to the sides. Inhale, spread your arms out. Exhale, step or jump your feet together. Please turn to the top of your mat and inhale, reach your arms way up in the air. Exhale, dive yourself all the way down. Inhale, lift up halfway, lengthen. Exhale, step back into downward facing dog, please. And from downward facing dog, we're going to slow motion find tabletop position. So slow. So your middle is engaging for you to go down this slowly. And then there's just this soft connection between knees and floor. You could stay there. Toss your left foot out to the left. You could pad your knee. You might want to, if your knees are sensitive. Step your right leg back. Turn onto the inner edge of your right leg. And your right arm is going to roll all the way up to the ceiling. Now, your left shoulder blade has to be pressing into your upper back in order for you to hold this. So super strong upper back on the left side. Chest wide. Let's kick that top leg up just so that whole outer leg gets super engaged. Again, if you need little kicks, cool, do it. Push back through the heel, lengthen through your whole torso, not back bending, not rounding, just center. Those of you who think you can reach it, let's grab the foot and push the foot and the hand together. And you're lengthening not just your thigh, but also your hip crease and also your torso, okay? Your sternum, center of the chest. And then maybe you even lay your head back just the tiniest bit. Push your hand and your foot together. Inhale. Exhale. Whoa. Inhale, stretch your leg out, stretch your arm out. Exhale, drop your hand, drop your knee. Inhale, cow pose. Exhale, cat pose. One more time. Inhale, arch. And exhale, round. Inhale, neutral. Step your right foot out to the right. Ground down through your right hand. Step your left leg back and roll onto the inner edge of the foot. Right shoulder blade pulls into the back. Strong upper back, strong right arm. And then this left arm just rolls up into the sky. Option to keep pushing through your back foot until your leg is lifted in the air. And we're just here for a moment, just trying to figure out how in the heck to balance here. It is sometimes also taught you guys with the shin parallel to the side edge of the mat. Give it a go. It's very challenging. If we're here, we're happy, you could stay here. If you feel like you want to try that Chopasana, thigh stretch version of this, lengthen gently the tailbone toward the left knee, the sternum, the chest lengthens, and maybe your palate pulls back just a little bit. Foot and hand push into each other. It's also very helpful to push down through that bottom leg. Inhale. One more exhale. Inhale, release all the way down. Put your hands on the floor. Inhale, cow pose. Exhale, cat pose. Inhale, cow pose. Exhale, cat pose. Inhale, neutral spine. Step one leg back and then the other. Plank pose. Charge up your plank. And from plank, we're going to take a slow down dog. So trying to keep the width in the upper back and the chest as we slide into downward facing dog. Inhale here. Exhale. Inhale here. Maybe in the privacy of your own home, you take a lion's breath. Exhale. Inhale. Prepare to step your left foot forward, and exhale, step your left foot forward. Okay, we're going to try back heel on the floor for a momentary warrior one. Inhale, come on up. Exhale, hands to the center of the chest. Now scoot your left foot to the right a little bit. Scoot your right foot back a little bit. And inhale from the center of your chest, open your arms, warrior two. Now you're facing the side wall. Press your left hand onto the inner thigh and feel the engagement in your inner left thigh. Keep that. Press your hand into your outer thigh and feel not just the engagement in your outer thigh, but all the way up into your glutes. Okay, inner and outer thigh engaged. Push your heel down, pull your heel back. The back of your thigh is now engaged, and you've got the most powerful front leg you could possibly have. Inhale, turn your palms up. Exhale, turn your palms down. Bring your hands together at the center, at your hips, and then straighten your front leg. Okay? We're going to try to come back out the way we came in. So walk our left foot to the left. Turn our back toes in a little bit, and then step all the way forward to the top of the mat. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, dive ourselves down, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift up halfway, and exhale, step right into plank pose, top of your push-up, strong pose. Hips stay steady as you push back into down dog, so you're not collapsing forward or back, right? Just steady. Inhale here. Going for next side. Exhale, right foot forward in between the hands, back heel down. Warrior one, reaching forward and up as we inhale. Stretch all the way out through that left side. Exhale, hands together at the center of your heart. Walk your right foot to the left. Walk your left foot back a little. Inhale, open up your arms equally out to the sides. Rotate your palms up, your biceps up. Exhale, keep your biceps trying to turn up as you turn your palms down. Strengthen your inner front leg, your outer front leg and hip, your back of your front leg, and then that back leg's going to create a little bend, and then we'll engage the inner thigh and push that back foot into the floor. Okay? It's similar to when you were, please stay here for a moment. It's similar to when you were laying down on the ground, one leg up, one leg down, and we were thinking about if this thigh bone was popping forward. That can happen here in Warrior 2 as well. So you can put a little bit in the knee, sit that thigh bone back, then strengthen your lower belly. Work that front back leg straight. Okay, coming out of it the way you came into it. Walk your right foot a little bit more to the right. Rotate your back toes in, and then step yourself all the way forward to the top of the mat. Stretch your arms out straight forward, neutral spine, and then slide your hips back and down, holding for a moment. Chair pose. Stretch your arms all the way back behind you, interlacing your hands behind your back. If available, you can stay there, or you can fold in a little more. Or you can fold in a little more, release your head, release your neck, stretch long through your arms. Triceps engaged, traps engaged, one more breath. And then inhale, lift up halfway, hands on your shins or the floor. Exhale, step back into downward facing dog, final piece of this. Inhale here. Exhale, lower slow motion, your knees all the way down onto the floor. Inhale, stretch your right leg back behind you. Left leg. Please stretch your left leg back behind you. Exhale, step your left foot on the outside of your left hand. Okay? From there, we're going to inhale and lengthen. Try to make your left foot parallel with the outer edge of your mat. Okay? Try to press your sit bones, your inner thighs back a little bit so you can start walking your hands slightly to the right. And then you can walk your hands forward in space. So you're kind of moving into a down dog spine situation here. You could stay here, or you could add the second piece of the pose, but that makes this a lot harder on your front leg, full disclosure. You want to engage inside, outside, hip, hamstrings, okay? All of those. And then lift your back knee, it's a lot. Put your back heel down, okay? And then your back leg can kind of pull up and out of the pose a little bit, pull that back thigh back a little bit, and then maybe you even sweep forward and sink into it slightly more, okay? Inhale. Stay here. Use a complete exhale to tone your core, to tone the base of your pelvis all the way through your middle. Take one more complete breath here. Humble warrior. And then from this big pose, we're walking our hands back toward our front leg. We're putting our back knee down on the floor. We're taking a twist for one moment, bending that back leg, and maybe we're staying right there. Some of you can see if your foot is somewhere near your hand and pull the two friends together, widen your chest and open up. Inhale. Stay for the exhale. Push down through your front foot a lot. And then as you inhale, release the foot slowly, plant your hands, step right back onto hands and knees. From hands and knees, step into plank using the leg that's less familiar to step back. Inhale, plank. Exhale, downward facing dog. Stay in down dog for a moment. We'll do the other side momentarily. Try a big sigh. Maybe a yawn, maybe a lion's breath, sticking out the tongue, looking at your nose. Inhale. Exhale. Lower your knees down to the floor so slowly. This is our core work, coming from down dog to hands and knees. Inhale, stretch your right leg back. Exhale, step your right foot forward on the outside of your right hand. Okay, this is lizard. This is a totally different pose. But we're trying to turn it into humble warrior. So let's make our foot parallel to the outer edge of the mat to start with. Walk our hands over to the left, away from our leg. But our knee is trying to sit on top of our ankle, right? So if we pull over too far, then our knee's going to come with us. So engage your hip. Keep your knee on top of your ankle. Walk your hands a little forward. You can see how that feels. Make your kind of down dog situation here. Engage the hamstrings by pulling the heel back. Engage the outer hip by pressing the thigh out to the right. Engage the inner thigh by engaging the inner thigh. Inhale here. Option 2, lift your back knee, put your back heel on the floor, and then extending back into the pose. Okay? Humble warrior. Stay there for 5 deep breaths. Even if I'm counting faster than you're breathing. 3. Make sure to complete your exhales. You want to tone up through your middle so that you're not collapsing in the pose. Squeeze your legs toward each other for one last breath. Stay with it, stay with it. And then from humble warrior, walk your hands back to the inside of your front foot, put your back knee on the ground, and we're going to twist. Rolling open to the right, lifting our back knee, deciding if the foot and the hand are near enough that they can hang out. Push the two together and widen your chest. Let's hold for just another moment here. Lengthen your chest towards your chin. Okay, carefully release that back foot. Let's step back onto hands and knees. From hands and knees, let's see if we can come right into plank pose, both legs at the same time. Inhale, plank. Exhale, option to lower down or to take downward facing dog. Inhale, rolling yourself up, stretching the front of your body. Exhale, pushing back into downward facing dog. You can certainly take child's pose if that feels better. We're here for 3 more breaths. Or one big yawn. Okay, let's all shift down onto hands and knees. Let's move our legs around in front of us and stretch our legs out nice and long. Inhale, sit up nice and tall. Exhale, bend your right leg and step it over your left leg. Okay, we're going to start there, and that may be where we end up. And if you're feeling some collapsing in your low back, that's no problem. There's no judgment, no concern, except that you want to lengthen it. So you can very simply put something underneath you. So sit up on something, okay? Or maybe you're here instead, okay? So that you can help yourself lift up. Maybe that bottom knee needs to bend. Okay, there are lots of options. Play with it. If you're here and this feels reasonable, walk your right foot over to the left. So you're imagining or physically doing, squeezing our thighs into each other. Okay, so this is the top half of Gomukhasana in your legs. You could do the bottom half if you feel like that's going to be great. Tip onto your left hip, take your bottom leg into the same shape that your top leg is in, and then keep squeezing your thighs together. And then talk to your knees about it. How are they doing? How are your hips doing? Okay? We're here for just a few moments. Squeezing our legs, our thighs into each other, pushing our feet apart from one another. Okay? This is a very pretzel-y pose. So please be careful on your joints. One more breath. to that starting point where your right foot was on the floor and your right knee was pointing up. If this bottom leg needs to straighten, straighten it. I need to take my bottom foot a little closer to my hip to be able to accomplish this. You can too. Inhale, lift up halfway, all the way, lift through your chest. Exhale, rotate to your right. Let's try not to use the hands actually. That left arm is really fond of tugging us into situations. Inhale, lift up, both feet down. Exhale, rotate. Okay, maybe that right hand's behind you. At the last moment, your left arm just kind of comes into it, however deeply you're already in it. Okay, you press your leg and your hand into each other, trying to keep your chest wide, trying not to strain that left shoulder, hunch that left shoulder. Nice long neck. And then take a peek over your left shoulder, and let's make our way all the way out of the twist, uncross our legs, stretch our legs all the way out in front of us. Okay, before we do round 2, second side, bend your knees, pull your heels back in space, feel your hamstrings engage, sit up as tall as you can in your seat, and then lean back to the point where your belly is activated, not your low back, okay? Belly is activated, and we'll stretch our arms forward for 10. Navasana. If you want to take Navasana with your legs off the floor, go for it. One more breath. Let's lower our legs down to the floor. Stretch out the right leg. Step the left leg over. We're doing side 2. You can have your left leg wide if need be for any number of reasons. You can walk your left foot over to the right. You can lean onto your right hip and swing your left leg over, right leg over to the left, and then cross your legs. If you need to sit on something, sit on something. If you need to sit on something and you don't have something, then take a different version of the pose. That's why we have so many options. And we're just here. I'm just going to refine it for you. Squeeze your thighs into each other. Push your feet apart from one another. Imagine both of your hips pushing down, not just into the floor, but through the floor, like you're growing roots. And then out of that stability, just sit so tall and feel how your breath is kind of moving you a little bit. I'm going to do part 2. Stomp that left foot down into the floor. I'm going to take my right foot a little closer to my hip so that this is possible. Both hips down, lift up, and then turn without yanking yourself into it. And it might feel unfulfilling because you're used to going maximum immediately. But just take your time with it. You have several breaths here. There's time for you to get into it nice and slow, to teach your body how to twist from your middle, from the anchoring down, and then the lifting, and then the middle. And then add your hands at the last moment here. You can push your hand and your left leg into each other a little bit, just so that leg has a little more support. And on an inhale, come all the way back to center. Uncross your legs, stretch your legs out in front of you. Scoot yourself up toward the top of your mat. Smush your heels into the floor and inhale, lift up nice and tall. And exhale, lean back toward Navasana boat pose. Inhale here. And then exhale, lean back toward half boat pose. Like you want to sit your pelvis on the floor. And then inhale here. And then exhale, roll your thoracic spine down all the way up until your head's down. And then lay your arms down. And then lay your legs down. And stay here for just a moment. And then if you decide, wow, I'm ready for this, then stay here. If you need a last thing, go for it. If you need a hug at the knees, or you feel like you need to have a pillow underneath your hips for a tiny back bend for a little bit, it's all welcome. Okay, if you need a whole nother half hour of practice, go for it. But I'm going to walk you into Shavasana. Okay, so we're actually going to start with our knees bent close, feet a little wide. We're going to start with our hands on our abdomen, and inhale, expand our belly in all directions for 3, 2, 1, and exhale, soften 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax your arms into your position of choice. Stretch a leg out, move that leg in and out a few times until you can relax it. Other leg out, in and out a few times until you can relax it. Shavasana. Inhale deeply, long through the back of the body, and then exhale, let it out. Make your mouth as wide as possible. Release your jaw. And here we rest. Take a deep breath in and release it completely. And just move your body nice and slowly until you feel ready to roll on to one side. Push yourself up into a seat. Take Anjali Mudra, thumbs, pinkies, index, ring, middle, palm, join together. Rest your hands at the base of your heart and take a bow into you. Namaste.